Hi guys, I want to talk today a little bit about fiber. I really think as part of the ketogenic diet or any diet, fiber is really important. We've seen an escalation in the numbers of colon cancer and other types of cancer of the digestive tract, apart from any cancer. I want to talk about fiber in terms of when I was growing up, the idea of fiber was brown bread. That was fiber. Anything to do with grains, the whole grain was the fiber. I do not eat whole grains. I eat fiber from vegetables, non-root vegetables. Okay, I sometimes eat bread and I sometimes eat root vegetables. But in general, I stick to things like tomatoes, peppers, lettuce. For a good period of time, I was only eating rocket leaves, arugula for my fiber. And that is what I depend on for my fiber. Mushrooms, that kind of stuff. I would fry them up, put some garlic, onion, that kind of stuff with it. Sauerkraut, absolutely fermented vegetables, I would 100%. This is the kind of fiber you want to be eating, not brown bread. That's okay to have occasionally. It's certainly, people assume that porridge and bread are all part of the fiber group. They're part of the carbohydrate group. They have fiber on them. There's a certain amount of that fiber. It's probably not that bad. However, I would advise anyone to read Grain Belly, written by Dr. William Davis, a heart surgeon who went into the area of metabolic health. So I really think that it is one of the problems for cancer, and for two primary reasons. One would be because of the sugar content, the carbs, because I have a lot of debating with people about porridge. I have nothing against porridge. I absolutely love the taste of porridge. It's lovely. Steel cut oats, I love the taste of them. They're obviously a little better. They're a little less refined. Obviously, they're more expensive as well. Usually, the further away you go from the processing, the kind of more fibrous they are, but also they're probably a bit more expensive because they're harder to get. They're not as much in demand. Whereas quick oats, big demand. And a lot of the time, even I saw Jamie Oliver had a book where he's like healthy eating. Like, first of all, Jamie Oliver is not healthy eating by making mango ice cream and porridge for breakfast. The very important thing with ketogenic diet is that we do not want to be hyperinsulinemic. So we don't want to be spiking our insulin. Any type of carbs, including carbs with grains that have whole meal, appear to be healthy, is spiking your insulin. And the thing about insulin is that only responds, and it's fine. I have no problem with insulin being released from. You have to use your pancreas every now and again, of course. And when we as humans find something sweet, we want to eat it. The problem is we're eating too many sweet things all the time. Sometimes we dress them up as not being sweet, like porridge, but they really are, or we dress them up as natural and healthy, but they really are. My point of view is and from all the research, and I'm a ferocious researcher, is to get rid of the carbs for at least your early meals completely. So that means you're having eggs and bacon with no toast. You're having avocado with no toast. You can have it with a few tomatoes, something fibrous, bit of fried mushrooms. Make a keto wrap, which you can do with cheese and eggs, and some people use chickpeas and stuff like that. Now, chickpeas is a little bit higher on carb load. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I personally would not have it in the morning. So the big thing here, I think we're missing when people go on about the ketogenic diet. Technically, the ketogenic diet is not even what I'm doing. The ketogenic diet is 80% fat. It was designed for people who had epilepsy. They couldn't find any kind of pill or medicine. It was designed in 1918, and it was found to work on epileptic children. That's who they tested initially. And it does work. I have done the strict ketogenic diet, 80% fat, very low percentage of carbs. My general carb intake is between 5 and 20 grams of carbs a day. In general, it's around 5. So, and that's in vegetables only. I do not eat fruit. I did have some berries last weekend. Sometimes if I break loose, I'll have berries and cream. I keep them in the freezer. I very, very rarely, I'd say once a quarter, eat berries. I stay away from the fructose. But like I said, I was on holidays during the summer. I was drinking beer and eating in Irish pubs in Munich and having a great time. So I'm not against carbs. Came home, had a McDonald's on the way home. Like, I'm not against carbs entirely. I'm against hyperinsulinemia, where we're constantly consuming carbs. And I think that's still the problem. You hear a lot of young people who are slim who are getting cancer, people you don't really expect. I know people, every single person I know who's gotten cancer in the last few years has been healthy. Porridge for breakfast, maybe a brown scone for their morning break, or a tortilla wrap with a lot of protein. They're still eating the carbs. They're still eating the carbs. Like, I don't bake. I do not teach my children to bake. In fact, my youngest daughter got in trouble. She just started home economics in school, but she got in trouble because she didn't weigh out we didn't have a clue what she was supposed to do. I did bake as I was younger, but I don't bake anymore because it's too threatening. Because obviously you're going to eat it, of course. Now, I do buy baked goods sometimes. I usually buy the frozen ones, but she got in trouble for not weighing out the flour, which she didn't have a clue. She just brought in a little bag of flour and a little bag of sugar and whatever, and the teacher gave out to her for not weighing out the stuff. And that was, of course, it's really unfair, but the teacher assumed, as with many Irish families, you expect that the child has learned to bake and learned to weigh things out. I mean, my daughter didn't even know what the 225G meant. And I saw her homework little list, but I didn't twig that she was supposed to weigh it out. I just thought she was supposed to bring more than that to the class. So that was quite funny. But she really enjoyed her homemade scones in home economics class because she doesn't get them at home. I grew up on things like homemade scones with raisins. Oh, my mother was such a good baker. Is such a good baker. Well, she doesn't bake as much anymore, but the key thing is to stay away from the carbs, even if it's brown bread, wholemeal bread. I mean, I make the most amazing brown bread, but I don't bake it anymore because I am committed to this journey. If I bake brown bread, I'll eat the whole loaf, which is fine. But second of all, I'll eat it all day with lots of butter, and I will just adore it and love it, and I'll eat all of it. So, or if I make porridge, I love porridge, absolutely. I used to be a savage porridge eater every morning, always porridge. And then I realized that I feel so much better. I have zero anxiety, zero stress, zero kind of depression or whatever. Not that I ever really suffered from it, but I feel I would have suffered definitely from anxiety and worry like anybody else, but I don't have any of that. The cleaner I eat, the better I feel. Obviously, I have been eating clean in the last few months because I was on holidays, but the cleaner I eat, the better I feel. This year hasn't gone brilliant for me in terms of eating. I have been a bit slovenly, one excuse after another, from Christmas. I was very good after Christmas, and then for a few weeks, and then all hell broke loose in January, whatever. So it doesn't always go well. I had 6 or 8 months in year before, I think it was 2024, 2023, 2024. I started in May 2023 that were absolutely brilliant. I was at my absolute fittest. I was really, really perfect weight, 156, which is my 2 pounds above my ideal weight, which is 154 partly. So yeah, so it doesn't always go absolutely perfectly, but overall, I try to go back into ketogenic diet and stay as strict as I can. But it's my form of keto, so there's a lot of vegetables. I tend to be quite vegetarian. I have some videos up on TikTok and here about the food that I eat. I do eat beef chili. The other day I made turkey meatballs because one of the children was complaining that we only ever eat eggs and bacon and beef chili. So I had to up my game and I had to get some new recipes. So I made turkey meatballs, and my husband actually said they were the best meatballs he ever had. I don't think he realized that they weren't beef. He started keto. He lost about 20 pounds, which he's never regained. He feels amazing. He said he's lost this kind of, I mean, he was always skinny. Everyone always said he was really skinny, but he felt kind of stuffed up. He was very skinny, but kind of felt, and I think he was carrying his weight in his trunk, which is the one where men tend to have all the visceral fat. Women tend to get the visceral fat later on when they're going through perimenopause or menopause. But the women tend to carry it more on the outside early on, which is why we tend to be more metabolically healthy when we're younger, and the men don't show the signs of metabolic ill health because the fat is inside their trunk. So he has lost all that feeling of being stuffed up inside, and you can see the difference, which we didn't even really notice before. I mean, it was really only when we look back at a few photographs from a few years ago that we see that he had this kind of just layer of lard, I suppose is the best term, but we never thought it was that. And that's all gone because he didn't start keto as strict as me, but he joined in, which I was unbelievably blown away by. I didn't even push him to do it. I did not think. He just literally one day just said he'd try it, and now he eats his meals without carbs. And recently he's kind of been obsessed. The last 3 mornings, he didn't eat any breakfast. He normally has about 5 boiled eggs for his breakfast. He didn't have any breakfast except coffee with heavy cream or cream. I just put normal cream this week, which won't spike your insulin. So you're starting off your day well. Your blood sugar is stable. That's the big thing that's really hard. My oldest daughter has just started to try a bit of keto. And the memory of the blood sugar spike that we have at every meal, because we eat carbs at every meal, is the hardest thing when you're doing ketogenic diet. I had it myself at the beginning. If you look back at my early Instagram posts, which are on my Catherine Monaghan KDY on my Instagram, I think that's it. But my early posts are of, I have a kids keto as well, but I hadn't started that when I started the ketogenic diet, and I used Lewis Capaldi, a lot of walking, just to get out of the house, away from the food. I ate massive meals. You can see pictures of them with a lot of salad. I was not an egg lover. I hadn't eaten eggs for 10 years. I just completely hated them. And now I eat eggs. I still don't eat massive amounts of eggs. Some periods of time I would, and then other times I'm not that keen. Same, I used to be a vegetarian as well for a few years. So I find I'm not mad to eat lots of, and there would be more meat and eggs in ketogenic diets, strict ketogenic diets. But mine is my own version, but it's cutting out the carbs, cutting out the grain carbs, cutting out the rice carbs, cutting out the pasta. There is no pasta, no rice, no potatoes. And but then, I went out for a meal with my son recently, my oldest son, and we went for a burger and chips, because I'm not going to not go where he would like. And he just started college, so you have to live your life as well. So I'm not against any of that stuff, and it was very nice burger and chips. Now I did have the vegetarian burger, but I would often have the Big Mac if I'm going to McDonald's. It's my favorite one, or the breakfast. Yum, yum, yum. So I'm not against it. It's just that we're eating it too often. So I really think people need to start cutting out carbs in certain parts of the day. The easiest thing to do is cut out carbs completely for a couple of weeks and get yourself metabolically fit. So you can go into fat burning. Like I'm in fat burning right now, so my body's using its own fat. So if I eat food, then my body will stop using its own fat and it'll use the stuff that's coming in. But you only have fat storage with the release of insulin. This is the thing that people can't really get. Plus, when you eat a lot of carbs, especially refined carbs and grains and stuff like that, you're not only upsetting your metabolic system, your intestines, your digestive system, you're also creating sludge in the blood. And people wonder why dementia is on the rise, Parkinson's is on the rise. There's a lot of research to show that those things are connected to a kind of a chronic illness from overconsumption of carbohydrates and sugar. And it's not just eating a bag of jellies. Like, that's what kids do. But adults are not doing that. And adults excuse themselves. They're saying, well, I'm not eating a bag of jellies. I'm not eating. But you're eating a pot of noodles. You're eating some potatoes. You're eating some healthy brown bread. it's not healthy. It's not healthy long term. It's healthy occasionally. It's lovely. I love it. I love that myself. When I was in Germany for the holidays, we ate lots. There was bread, the rye bread and stuff for breakfast. We had everything. We had the pancakes with the Nutella. We had everything. So that's the part of enjoying life. That's where I diverge from some of the very obsessive keto people or the carnivore people, where I feel like every so often you got to have a bit of fun. And like, I'm not on the planet to be a complete bore, and I have no great ambition to live till I'm 120 like Brian Johnson. So it depends on what your aim are. I came upon this by accident. I was overweight. I was driving a lot for my job, and I was in an kind of an awful. I just felt like my body was about to fall apart, and I was looking for a long-term solution, which I found on YouTube. Dr. Berg, Dr. Eric Berg, an incredible keto proponent. He has about 13 million followers, and if you look at his comments, you will see that everybody is positive. There are people who are 70, 80, 90 who started his program. They might not be signed up to his program, but they might be just watching. He puts all the information online. He's got an incredible amount of videos. He's so incredible. And those people have changed their lives. So a lot of it for me at the beginning was just getting rid of the fat long term. But then I discovered the health benefits. I started to feel amazing. I've had 3 blood tests to tell me that I am extremely healthy, even though the doctor doesn't believe it has anything to do with my diet. That's her problem. That's not my problem. That's another thing you need to have a little bit when you are doing something a little bit different, is you need to have a bit of resilience, and you need to have nerves of steel. 100% nerves of steel. I would say I definitely think I wasn't as tough as I am now. I have incredible resilience. I am an incredibly resilient, confident, and competent person. There's nothing weird about me. I am not doing something weird by doing this diet. I'm a very normal person. I have a husband and family, and I want to have a nice time with them. But this has been transformative. It has changed my life. And I am so grateful for the kind of trauma that preceded this happening, and the knowledge, all of the things I've done before, it seemed to all converge in this moment in 2023, oh my God, 2023, where May the 8th, 2023, where everything converged, like everything I've ever done came together in this moment of realization. Like I've said it before in my videos, it has been like reaching the promised land. I cannot describe it in any other way. It has been the most fantastic moment of my life, apart from having the children and meeting my husband, without a doubt, which would have to come in ahead of that. But feeling so healthy, so good all the time, so happy, so unstressed, so unanxious, just feeling so resilient, so amazing. It can't be bought. It can't be bought. It really can't. And it requires some level of effort, which is not, I can't say it's always easy. I don't have any sugar cravings, but obviously if stuff is right there in front of you, you're going to want to have it, which is what happened with the berries at the weekend. I had bought some berries for my daughter, and of course I opened the freezer once too often, and they were luring me in. And the nature wants us to be fat. If you want to read Dr. Rick Johnson, he wrote an amazing book, Nature Wants Us to Be Fat. And that is true. I so believe that. But the problem is it's all around us. It's very easy to be fat, but it's also very easy to hide our hyperinsulinemia while being skinny. And then it just takes something to trigger it, something like cancer diagnosis, because like I said, I don't know any fat person who got cancer. It's all the people that I know in the last 10 years that have gotten cancer have all been skinny. And very, what would be described as fit and healthy. Some of them have been runners quite a lot. I find that masks the hyperinsulinemia a lot. People are eating a lot of carbs. They're carb loading before the gym. They appear to be very fit and healthy. Someone that I would really look up to who's not technically keto would be Victoria Beckham. I think that she is incredible in terms of her discipline. Now, I am definitely not that disciplined. I wish. And she looks amazing, but she has incredible discipline about her food and diet. She does eat very healthy. She looks very well. She definitely looks better than I do. But I would have to admire, and I wouldn't want everything that she does. I particularly don't love fish. I know she eats steamed fish and stuff like that. I do eat fish occasionally, but it's not my favorite thing. I was sick from fish a few years ago, and I definitely wouldn't be love to have it. But I do take cod liver oil, Victoria. Peace out. So you have to give credit to people who put their health first, regardless of the criticism that they get. And they like, she is not going to get dementia. She's not going to get cancer. She's not going to get Parkinson's. She is, her blood in her veins, her vascular system, her systems are clean. Her pipes are clean, as they say. She is much cleaner than mine even. I mean, I've had several months of beer and bread. But I don't go overboard. I tend to go back to keto and kind of clean myself out again. But it takes a bit of time. If you've been bold, you pay the piper. If you've been bold, you pay the piper. But anyway, so yeah, fiber. Have a look at your fiber. It should really come from plants, and it should come. Now, the carnivore people don't eat any plants. I did carnivore for a while. It's very, very boring to do. So I am happy eating fibrous plants like mushrooms and onions and garlic and turmeric, and watch out for the turmeric because it makes your teeth yellow. But anyway, ginger, peppers. I don't eat beans generally, but my oldest daughter eats a few beans and chickpeas and stuff like that. Now, I tend to stay away from all those things. I tend to keep it completely carb free. Tomatoes, cucumbers, arugula, rocket leaves. That's generally the salad leaves that I stick to. Apple cider vinegar, extra virgin olive oil. I have butter. When I'm frying my eggs, I put them in butter. When I'm frying my rashers, I don't put anything in the pan. So I eat rashers, I eat mince, beef, turkey, whatever. So give it a try. See, have a look at some of my kind of recipes or little menus. Or I don't know, they're not really menus, but I would give it a try. Like, you will not believe how clean you will feel, how your brain will be crystal clear, how everything in your body will work, how you will have no aches and pains. Like, really, I should be having, and I was having a lot of aches and pains before I went on keto. Now, it took a bit of time. It wasn't overnight. Like, when I reflect, it can appear like it was overnight, but it actually did take a good bit of time. And I see my oldest daughter now, she's definitely struggling with it. But it takes time, and when you're a teenager, 5 minutes is too long. So I would have also been like that, only that I blindly went along at the beginning, shoved in my earbuds and turned on Lewis Capaldi full belt. I promised myself one treat a week. So I had a Boost bar, which is less than 20 grams of sugar or carbs, and then I would occasionally have white bread, 2 slices of white bread with butter, which is one of my all-time favorites. And I would have that just for something to have, to know that I was going to have a treat at a certain time. I did intermittent fasting, very important. And I started that early on, which was not easy. And I kept a record through Instagram and later through YouTube and TikTok. So I think that was very important, because every time I felt like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not interested, I don't want to do this. It was very hard to cut carbs out of my meals, very psychologically. I could physically cut them out, but psychologically, it's still to this day, and I'm 2 years in, I'm more than 2 years in, I find that I'm like, oh, where's the rice? Where's the potatoes? It's still difficult, because I'm programmed. I was brought up to have carbs with every meal, and then you get the blood sugar rush, which is lovely, But when you do keto, you miss that because your blood sugar is like this. And listen, I am quite a, I'm quite a kind of flowy person. I don't like this. Like that suits my husband down to the ground. Which is why I find it unusual that he's the one that might sneak off and have, some sugary shit, whereas I don't. I'm very disciplined. And in March, I did a 17-day water fast where I didn't eat anything for 17 days. I was not hungry. First 2.5 days, very hard of any fast. I was only doing a 36-hour fast, but then I was feeling so good at the end of 36 hours that I went into 48 hours. Then I regretted doing the fast during the 48 hours, around 42 hours. And then I said, look, I'll just keep going. Once I got to 48, it was kind of okay again. And it was not, I think it might have been nighttime. So I decided to stay going till 72. Once I got to 72 hours, that was it. Boom. I just stayed going. I didn't intend to do a 17-day water fast. And then I got to day 7, 8, 9. And then I decided I was going to beat Mr. Beast, who did a 14-day water fast. And I think he was planning on doing 15 or 20 days. So I wanted to beat him. So then I got to 15 days and I said, I'll keep going. But I knew 15 days I was really finished. That was just, I kept going, but I was, that was just a token to get to 17. So I got to 17 days, not eating. I did take electrolytes with my water. I am religious about that. I made a mistake in my very early days of fasting. Now, I didn't start off doing a 17-day water fast. I did it in stages. So I did a, say, 12-hour fast. But I did take on the intermittent fasting. I was very lucky. I saw Dr. Jason Fung and Dr. Eric Berg kind of converge together. When I first found Dr. Berg on YouTube, I was like, what's this strange cult? I had vaguely heard about the ketogenic diet, not really. It was a kind of alien concept. I remember a girl years ago talking about ketones. No idea really. And I fortunately, in the 2 weeks that I was like, nah. Luckily, I had watched a little piece, like 2 minutes of a 2-hour video from Dr. Berg. Luckily, I had, so it was in my history. So about I continued to research and I found this Dr. Jason Fung, who's a nephrologist and dealt with people with diabetes for years and was sick of giving out metformin. So eventually came around to, oh my God, it's diet. And he changed his life. He wrote the obesity code. He wrote the cancer code, I think, recently, where he talks about hyperinsulinemia. But anyway, I found them together. And I think if I hadn't, I would not have the rounded view that I have as opposed to the singular view of ketogenic diet and weight loss and whatever, because it came at it from a different angle. So Dr. Berg is a chiropractor who's turned into this kind of nutritionist, incredible guy. Dr. Fung is coming at it from a slightly different angle. He's a doctor, a medical doctor, where he's dealing with kidney patients and people who are, have diabetes. And he came at it from a different angle, but they arrived almost at the same thing. But Dr. Fung writes more comprehensively about the hyperinsulinemia, which also Dr. Lustig, he wrote Metabolical. You have Dr. Ken Berry, who's gone very carnivore now, but excellent. Dr. Boz, Dr. Mindy Pelz. So I've all these people. Luckily, I kind of kept going with my research before I dived in. And I think that really helped me. I had all these people. Dr. Ben Bikman, How Not to Get Sick. He probably, this is where I was really lucky. He probably draws together every single thing that I think. And it's funny, I didn't find him till about a year later. So I was coming to all these conclusions from a non-medical background. I have a background in business and communications. So I'm coming at all these things and suddenly I happened on this guy who had very few followers at the time, a Dr. Ben Bikman. And now he's got loads of followers. But at the time I found him, he had very few. He had written a book called Why We Get Sick, which was published, I think, in 2016, but it could have been later, maybe 2022. Anyway, but he released a book last year in July called How Not to Get Sick, and he has some recipes and stuff, and it's generally ketogenic. He doesn't purport keto, and this is why I love the way I research. I don't need for someone to be keto. In fact, some of those people are quite irritating because they're so obsessive. Never eat a McDonald's, never have a beer. Dr. Thomas Seyfried, incredible guy. He wrote Cancer is a Metabolic Illness. And all of these things kind of came at the time when I had done my own research, had already come to a kind of a conclusion. And then all of a sudden, I don't know, this is why I think my phone is listening to my brain when I'm not saying anything, because the things come out. I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was thinking about. This is exactly the conclusion that I came to. And this guy wrote a book about it. So I would advise anybody, Dr. Bretherson, he wrote The End of Alzheimer's Dementia. And a lot of it has to do with the sludge cardiovascular disease. There's many doctors, Dr. Lustig, I suppose, Dr. William Davis. There's a load of good guys, but I would pull on these really main guys, Dr. Mark Hyman, that are really pulling it together. I think that we are in for a treat in the next few years. Keto and carnivore are really taking off, and they are helping people to get rid of their chronic illnesses, autoimmune illnesses, cancer. But there is going to be a lot of haters, a lot of resistance. That's fine. I'm just trying to get out my message of how I feel and achieve this amazing feeling, and I want to share it. So it's also good for me as well, because I have a record of where I was at in the journey at the time. So I would definitely say to anyone, if you are someone that's not sure, give it a try. Of course, I could say try it for 30 days. It's not that easy. Give it a try and get started and see how you go. You might have a couple of false starts. I had it myself. You're going to fall off the wagon. That's normal. And try to start reading some of these books. They're all available online. I got them all in the library. I don't know why people, I literally went into the library the day after Ben Bikman's book came out last July, and they bought the book for me. So I literally got the first copy of loads of the books that they just said they never, the library will buy the book, so it was free for me to read it. The library will buy the book that if you don't have the money, like a lot of them are very expensive. If you don't have the money, the library will buy the book and you can rent it out for the week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is. All right, guys, I will talk to you soon. I am going to go for a walk. It has finally dried up. And have a lovely day. And maybe just, even if you're not sick, even if you're not fat or obese or whatever the word, I'm sure I'm not allowed to use fat on YouTube. Yeah. You're fine. Clean out your system. That is the best thing that has happened to me. I feel like my pipes are clean. I feel like I've cleaned out my system. The clarity in my brain, the feeling of just feeling good. I would say give it a try, but it's not as easy. The road is rocky, like anything. It's easy for me to say, oh, it's worth doing. It's not that easy. You'll have lots of times you fall down, but that's okay. Just get back up. Talk to you soon. Bye.